Dr. Ethan Ham just confirmed the Christian Post a few days ago that he will attend President Trump's speech to Congress on March 4th on the invitation of Senator Josh Hawley. So Dr. Ham was persecuted by the Biden regime. He was he was in residency. He was about to become a doctor, and he realized this hospital he was in was lying to the public, saying that they stopped doing genital mutilation on children, what the hospital called gender affirming care, sex change operations on little kids. And he said they were still doing it. So he was a whistleblower, came out, he gave the information to a newspaper. And instead of the Biden administration going after a hospital for this terrible practice, they prosecuted this doctor. And in fact, they waited till the day he was about to graduate from his residency, a big day for a doctor, and they went to his house and embarrassed him and arrested him in front of his family. And they were pushing to get 10 years. They're a very tyrannical regime, the Biden administration was. And he was facing $250,000 in fines and 10 years in prison. Luckily for him, he raised over $1 million because his legal bills cost $2 million. And that's what the Biden administration did. They used lawfare. Even when they knew they were didn't have the law on their side, they would just persecute Trump supporters or any conservatives, anybody that disagreed with the Democrats, and they would persecute them and make them spend a lot of money on lawyers so they would take a plea. They stick people in jail and solitary confinement, and just a very tyrannical regime. But once Trump won, Senator Josh Hawley got Trump involved, and a federal judge dismissed this case, thank God. And so this doctor is very thankful that he's not facing jail for doing what was right. And you see this, not surprising, this is what Democrats do in California. Years ago, you remember David Daldien went undercover in the Planned Parenthood clinics and filmed these horrible doctors aborting live babies and going undercover talking to these doctors about selling these body parts, which is illegal. And it was just horrible. And so when the then Attorney General Kamala Harris found out about this horrible crime that Planned Parenthood was doing, she arrested David Daldien and threw him in jail. This is how these Democrats work. And again, lawfare, just tons of fees to pay for lawyers, trying to break this man. And then a judge in California who was on the board of Planned Parenthood said these videos couldn't be shown, so the public couldn't see these horrific videos what Planned Parenthood was doing, profiting off of selling unborn baby parts. But thankfully, Trump coming into power changed a lot of things. California just dismissed all these charges against David Daldien just recently. And hospitals in Virginia and DC that do these child mutilations said they're going to stop. So Trump is changing things, praise God. And let's celebrate these wins. And when I talk about these things, instead of people celebrating the wins, they always come up with something negative. So I'm going to address the negatives that'll come up. But you're like, what could be negative? And I'll tell you in a second. So, you wonder how the public allowed these child mutilations, and I'll tell you how. Because the media are Democrats. They're just, they've always been Democrat, but for the past 20 years, they're actively promoting the Democrat agenda. They're just a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. So they convince people that these are rare and few only for people, they're good for people, and or they're not happening in some cases. When they are, they'll lie to the American people. And but why would they do this? I mean, like, who would think it was a good idea to castrate a 12-year-old boy? Like, who would think this? I think Pope Francis nailed it. Pope Francis said gender ideology is demonic. It's demonic because the devil wants to change your identity. He's 100% right. And Pope Francis fully supports Trump on all his transgender initiatives and executive orders he's doing to ban this horrific practice. And he's also fully supportive in the bishops, are in unity with the Pope, supporting President Trump's pro-life initiatives, banning all funding for abortion. And, they support Trump on his positions on war. And I think most people, including the church, realizes if Trump was in power, Russia would have never invaded Ukraine, and millions of people wouldn't have gotten killed. I think most intelligent people realize that Hamas wouldn't have the money to invade and start this war with Israel because President Trump had Iran broke, and Iran is the one that gives the money for these wars to Hamas. And I'll say all these positive things about Trump and the church and how they're, on the same page with these. And they'll say, oh, what about immigration? The Pope is opposed to Trump's immigration. Well, Pope Francis said just recently, talking to the enemies in the media, that everybody needs to be reviewed on a one-on-one basis, and some people have to be returned. Every country has a right to their borders, and that's the Catholic position. We all have a right to our borders. What Pope Francis disagrees with, he thinks more people need asylum than Trump apparently thinks. So instead of criticizing our church, if you're a Catholic, I was really disappointed in JD Vance. I was all for Trump picking him. I was happy Trump picked him, and I think he helped Trump win. Brilliant politician, but he's a young Catholic. He's only been Catholic a couple of years now. And for him to criticize the bishops to the enemy, he was talking to the enemy. He was talking to a Democrat media. I forget the woman's name, but she is an enemy of the church. And he attacked the church. To me, that's like kind of disloyal. It's kind of be like, it would be like a soldier going to China and criticizing America, and criticizing our president and our Congress. So I think instead of Catholics saying, "Oh, hoorah, yeah, good for JD Vance," they need to tell him, "Hey, JD, use your great communication skills." And I don't think I've ever seen a better communicator than JD Vance. Use your great communication skills and go to the Vatican or go to the United States bishops and explain your position, because your position isn't that far off from them. We do give asylum for people that are truly being politically persecuted. But Biden purposely opened the border to allow anyone in so the Democrats can retain power. It was all for votes. It's all out. Everybody knows this. This is no big secret why he allowed it. He wasn't doing it for asylum. So most of the people that were coming over weren't for asylum reasons. And 300,000 children are missing because of this crazy open border situation we had. And according to Biden's FBI, most of them are were sold as slaves, sex slaves. And we know the Biden crime family received over $30 million from foreign countries, China, Russia, Ukraine, Bulgaria. And we don't know why yet, because the Biden regime shut down all the investigations. But we're going to find out why. This is why he pardoned his whole family, because his family was getting these monies in shell companies. Even like minors in his family were getting millions of dollars, and nobody knows why. Ironically, Hunter was found guilty and he was pardoned, of course. for tax evasion on money that he actually, we know where he got it from. This corrupt gas company in Ukraine, Burisma, was paying him like $85,000 a month. He was making more than like Exxon and Mobil executives, and he had no experience. So obviously he was selling his father's influence. But we know where the money came, at least. That's what he got in trouble. He didn't pay taxes. But we also know from Wells Fargo president, Chase president, Jamie Dimon, that they received $30 million from these foreign countries that looked suspicious, that was very suspicious. And when they told the attorney general, he just shut down all the investigations on it. So they didn't pay taxes on that. This is what they're pardoned for. So my point is, and on Hunter's laptop, he was having sex with minors. We know that as well. These are all facts. So maybe we need to investigate, and I'm sure they will, if the Biden family was getting payoffs by the cartels so they could traffic these children into sex slaves. These people are evil. They kill babies. They mutilate children. They allow wars for profit. Jim Biden profits. Another one, Joe Biden's brother, Jim, he started a building company to build in Iraq with no building experience, and he got millions of dollars in contracts. And this is like legal what he did, but it's unethical. But there's, like I said, $30 million illegal that we don't know how they got it. They had no business. It was just shell companies that these foreign countries were pumping money. So maybe if JD, instead of criticizing the church, explaining to the church, we're a country of immigrants. Our president's married to an immigrant. We just want to know who's coming through. It's no good. It does nobody any good if we just let a flood of people come in. We don't know if they're terrorists. We don't know if they're cartel members. We don't know if they're being trafficked, for sex slaves. And then, and the church was worried because, Trump lifted the ban on going into churches and schools, but they haven't yet. But they want to let these criminals know there's nowhere you can hide. So JD, again, with his great communication skills, can say to bishops, listen, if we know there's a child molester in your church, we want to be able to go after it and get them. You may not know, but if our intelligence tells us, we want to know and go in. It's not like they're going in mass and just grabbing innocent people, or going into schools and grabbing children. That's not what this is about. This is about saying you have nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. So, again, instead of criticizing the church for disagreeing with Trump on his immigration policy, why don't we take the wins? They're fully supportive of his pro-life agenda. They're fully supportive of his initiatives on transgenderism. They're fully supportive of his efforts on the war. We're all confident he's going to end these wars. It's just going to take time because Biden made such a mess. But I say 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Let's take our wins. And even on the immigration, they're not as far apart as the devil and the media, which is controlled by the devil, is trying to make us all seem and put a wedge between the sheep and the shepherds. So praise the Lord, we're winning, and we're going to keep winning, but the battle's not over. So God bless and stay Catholic.